The afternoon sun hangs heavy and warm over Henderson Park, baking the scent of cut grass and chlorine from the nearby public pool into the air. It is a day like any other. Mothers push swings in a steady, hypnotic rhythm. Children's laughter erupts like sprinklers across the green lawn. A lone vendor, sweat beading on his forehead, turns hot dogs on a sizzling grill, the smell of onions and mustard a familiar comfort. On a wooden bench, set slightly apart from the cheerful chaos, sit four men. They are mountains of leather and denim. Their presence is a quiet disruption to the park's pastel harmony. Chrome gleams on the massive motorcycles parked in a neat row by the curb, machines that look more like sleeping beasts than vehicles. Vests are adorned with patches, a complex language of loyalty and territory. The most prominent one shows a snarling wolf's head, encircled by the words Sons of Odin. Their skin is a canvas of ink and scars, stories etched by sun, road, and conflict. The man in the center is the largest. His name is Bear. A thick, graying beard covers the lower half of his face, but his eyes, sharp and intelligent, miss nothing. They scan the playground not with menace, but with a practiced, sweeping observation that sees everything at once. The unsteady toddler. The teenager texting instead of watching his younger sister. The way the wind rustles the leaves in the sycamore trees. Beside him, Reaper eats a hot dog with methodical precision. He is leaner than Bear, his face a mask of hard angles and absolute calm. He is the club's sergeant-at-arms, the enforcer of their code. His movements are economical, efficient, never wasted. The other two, Anvil and Ghost, are quieter still, content to exist in the orbit of their president. They form a silent, formidable wall. People give them a wide berth. A young couple holding hands changes their path to walk on the far side of the grass. A mother calls her son a little closer to the slide, her voice a shade too bright. They see the leather, the tattoos, the sheer physical size, and they make an assessment based on fear. The Sons of Odin do not notice. Or, if they do not care. This quiet judgment from the world is as familiar to them as the rumble of their engines. They're simply enjoying a rare moment of peace on a long cross-country ride. A pocket of stillness in a life defined by motion. Then the stillness shatters. A flash of pink and blonde hair. A small figure, moving with a desperate, frantic energy that is entirely out of place in the lazy afternoon. She runs from the wooded edge of the park, her small legs pumping, her face a mess of tears and dirt. One of her sandals is missing, her bare foot slapping against the hard-packed earth. She is not running aimlessly. She is running straight for them. The hot dog vendor freezes, spatula in hand. The mothers on the swing sets stop pushing. A collective breath is held across the playground as the small girl, maybe 7 years old, stumbles to a halt directly in front of the four bikers. Her chest heaves with ragged, sobbing breaths. Her eyes are wide with a terror so profound it seems too large for her small face. Bear leans forward slightly, his massive forearms resting on his knees. He does not speak. He just waits. He lets her find her voice. She points a trembling finger back toward the trees. "Please," she gasps, the word tearing from her throat. "Please, you have to help. He has my brother." The world shrinks to the space between the crying child and the four silent men. The sounds of the park fade into a muted hum. Reaper sets down the last of his hot dog, his movements still deliberate, but his eyes are now fixed on the tree line. Anvil and Ghost shift their weight, no longer relaxed but poised. Ready. Bear's voice, when it comes, is a low rumble, like stones shifting deep underground. It holds no threat, only a deep, resonant calm. "Easy, little one. Breathe." He gestures with his chin. "Who has your brother?" Before the girl can answer, a new figure emerges from the woods. He is the perfect antidote to the girl's panic. A man in a crisp, light gray suit, his hair perfectly coiffed, his shoes gleaming even after walking through the woods. He carries an air of professional concern, a practiced smile already forming on his lips. He exudes respectability. Authority. Ah, there you are, Lily, he says, his voice smooth and reassuring. He walks toward the group with a confident stride, his eyes flicking over the bikers with a dismissive, almost amused glance before settling back on the child. "I'm so sorry for this disturbance," he says, addressing the men as if they were merely inconvenient pieces of furniture. Lily has a wonderfully vivid imagination. She gets overwhelmed sometimes, and these episodes can be quite dramatic. The girl flinches at his voice, pressing herself back against Bear's leg as if seeking shelter behind a rock wall. She shakes her head violently, her blonde ponytail whipping back and forth. "No," she whispers, her voice thick with fear. "He's lying." The man, Mr. Caldwell, as he introduces himself, lets out a patient, condescending chuckle. "See? It's a very convincing performance. She should be on the stage." He reaches a hand out towards her. "Come now, Lily. Let's not bother these gentlemen. We have to get back before your transport arrives." Bear does not move a muscle, but his presence seems to expand, a silent, immovable object between the man and the child. "She seems pretty scared," Bear says. The statement is simple, flat, an observation of fact. Mr. Caldwell's smile tightens by a fraction of an inch. "As I said, she gets overwhelmed. She's a sensitive child. I'm her family's assigned wellness coordinator. We're working through some significant transitional trauma." Jargon, polished words meant to build a wall to shut down questions. Words that mean nothing and everything. Reaper speaks for the first time, his voice a dry rasp. "Wellness coordinator." "That's correct," Mr. Caldwell says, turning his professional gaze on Reaper. "I work with at-risk youth. It's a very delicate process. Now, if you'll excuse us." He takes another step forward. Bear raises a hand. Not quickly, not aggressively. He simply puts it up, palm out. A stop sign made of flesh and bone. The man stops. His annoyance is now visible, a flicker of irritation in his eyes. "I'm not sure you understand," Mr. Caldwell says, his tone shifting from patient to patronizing. "This is a confidential family matter. You're legally required to stand aside." "He's not my coordinator," the girl whispers, her fingers clutching a fistful of Bear's denim jeans. "I don't know him. He grabbed us from the library. He said he was a policeman." Bear looks down at the top of her head, then back at the man in the suit. His gaze is flat, unreadable, an endless gray horizon. "She says you grabbed her from the library. A child's fantasy," Mr. Caldwell scoffs, waving a dismissive hand. "We were at a scheduled counseling session. She had a panic attack and ran. Her brother, Tom, is waiting patiently in my car just over that hill. He understands the rules." The word rules hangs in the air, cold and sharp. The hot dog vendor is watching, his face pale. The mothers have gathered their children, moving slowly towards the parking lot, but not leaving, their curiosity and unease holding them captive. They are witnesses now, an audience to a play they do not understand. "Where's the car?" Reaper asks, his eyes still locked on the man. "Just over the rise, as I said. A black sedan. Now, this has gone on long enough. Lily, come here." Right now, his voice has a new edge. The command of a man used to being obeyed, and furious that he is not. The girl whimpers, burying her face completely against Bear's leg. This is the moment, the pivot. Suspicion, a cold and heavy thing, solidifies into certainty in the minds of the four men on the bench. They have seen this before in different towns with different faces, the slick mask of respectability hiding something rotten underneath. The way predators use confidence and social status as both shield and weapon. Bear slowly, deliberately stands up. He is immense. He blocks out the sun, casting the man in the expensive suit in his shadow. The air around them grows thick, charged with unspoken intent. The sons of Odin are no longer resting. They are on duty. "She's not going anywhere with you," Bear says. His voice is still quiet, but it carries the weight of absolute finality. Mr. Caldwell's face flushes with anger. The mask of professional concern is gone, replaced by undisguised contempt. "Who do you think you are? You're a group of thugs. I'm a licensed professional. If you do not step aside, I will call the police and have you arrested for kidnapping. Call them, Reaper says, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. He holds up his own phone. Or I can. Panic flashes in Caldwell's eyes, just for a second, before he masters it. This is absurd. I have all the paperwork in my car. Guardianship transfer, psychological evaluations. Everything is in order. He is trying to re-establish control, to regain the upper hand with the tools he knows, bureaucracy and intimidation. But those tools have no effect here. Bear kneels down, a difficult, creaking process for a man his size. He brings himself to eye level with the little girl. The contrast is stark. The giant, scarred man with tattoos crawling up his neck and the tiny, terrified child in a pink dress. Hey, he says softly, his voice stripped of all its gravel. What's your name? Lily, she whispers. Lily, that's a pretty name. My daughter loves lilies, he pauses. Can you tell me something that will help us find your brother? Something only you would know. Lily hesitates, her wide, tear-filled eyes darting from Bear's kind face to the furious man standing behind him. Hey, she begins, her voice trembling. He took Tom's inhaler. Tom needs it. He put it in the glove box of his car. It's a blue one, with a rocket ship sticker on it. A specific detail. A verifiable fact. A lifeline. And the car has a long scratch, she adds, her voice a little stronger now. On the passenger side, a long white scratch. He did on a pole when he put us in. Bear looks up at Caldwell. The man's face is a mask of white-hot rage. The lie is collapsing around him, and he knows it. She's a compulsive liar, Caldwell spits, his voice losing its polished tone, becoming thin and reedy. It's part of her condition. She creates elaborate fictions to get attention. Reaper is already tapping on his phone. He keeps his eyes on Caldwell, but his thumb moves with purpose. He is not calling the police. Not yet. He has a contact, a detective in the state's major crimes unit. A man who understands that information can come from unlikely sources. What's your full name? Bear asks Caldwell, his voice hardening again. That is none of your business. And the agency you work for. I'm not answering any more questions from you, Caldwell snarls. He takes a step back, his hand inching toward the inside of his suit jacket. I am leaving, and I am taking the child. No, you're not, Ghost says, speaking for the first time. He and Anvil have moved. No one saw them do it, but they are no longer by the bench. They are positioned to the sides, flanking Caldwell. A cage of leather and muscle. The hot dog vendor is on his phone now, his hand shaking as he speaks in hushed tones to a 911 operator. The scene has crossed a line. This is no longer a strange domestic dispute. It is something much darker. Reaper's call is brief. A few quiet words. He listens, his expression unchanging. Then he hangs up. He looks at Bear. He gives a single, sharp nod. That's all it takes. Daniel Caldwell, Reaper says, the name dropping into the silence like a stone. No professional license on file. No affiliation with any state or private wellness agency. Caldwell freezes. The blood drains from his face. And there's an active Amber Alert. Reaper continues, his voice cold and precise. For 2 children, Lily and Thomas Peterson. Last seen at the West Branch Public Library. Taken by a man matching your description. The mask does not just slip. It shatters. The face underneath is not that of a concerned professional. It is the face of a cornered rat. Ugly, twisted with fury and fear. You have no right, he hisses, his voice a venomous whisper. You have no idea who I am. Who I know. I will ruin you. He makes his move. It is not toward the road. It is toward the child. A desperate, last-ditch lunge to grab his prize, to create a hostage situation, to salvage something from the wreckage of his plan. He is fast, but he is not fast enough. Bear moves with a speed that is shocking for his size. He does not strike. He does not hit. He simply intercepts. One massive arm comes up, catching Caldwell across the chest. It is like running into a concrete pylon. The air goes out of Caldwell's lungs with a pain grunt. He stumbles back, his eyes wild. From the inside of his jacket, his hand emerges, now holding a small, silver utility knife. The blade clicks open. It is a pathetic weapon, but a weapon nonetheless. Stay back. he shrieks, his voice cracking. All of you. I'll get her. I swear I will. He waves the knife wildly, a terrified man trying to project an image of danger. He has lost all control. The polished predator is gone, leaving only the cowardly scavenger beneath. Reaper takes one step forward. Caldwell swings the knife at him. Reaper sways back, the blade slicing empty air. In the same motion, his hand shoots out, clamping around Caldwell's wrist. There is a sharp, sickening crack of bone. The knife clatters to the ground. Caldwell screams, a high, thin sound of pain and utter defeat. He cradles his broken wrist, his face contorted in agony. It is over. Just then, the distant wail of a siren grows louder, resolving into the familiar sound of approaching police cars. They scream into the park's parking lot, doors flying open. Anvil and Ghost stand impassively as officers swarm the scene, guns drawn. They make no sudden moves. They simply watch. Bear has already turned his back on the pathetic, weeping figure of Caldwell. He kneels again in front of Lily, shielding her from the sight. "It's okay now," he says, his voice a gentle rumble. "You were so brave. The bravest girl I've ever met." Lily finally lets go, her body shaking with a storm of delayed sobs. Not of fear anymore, of relief. He doesn't touch her, just stays there, a solid, reassuring presence until the storm passes. A detective, a tired-looking man with a familiar face, approaches. Detective Miller, the man Reaper had called. He takes in the scene. Caldwell on the ground, clutching his wrist, the knife on the grass, the bikers standing like statues, the little girl hiding behind the largest of them. Miller holsters his weapon. He nods at Bear. "You boys have a knack for finding trouble." "Trouble found us," Bear replies, not taking his eyes off Lily. "Her brother is in a black sedan. Over that hill. Scratch on the passenger side." Miller barks orders to his uniformed officers, who immediately head toward the woods. A few minutes later, they return. Between them is a small boy, pale and shaken, clutching a blue inhaler with a rocket ship sticker. He sees Lily and his face crumples. They run into each other's arms, a desperate, clinging embrace. Bear rises to his full height and steps back, giving them space. He and his men fade into the background, their job done. They are observers again, guardians. The final act of the drama unfolds quickly. Another car, a minivan, screeches to a halt. A man and a woman jump out, their faces etched with a frantic, soul-deep terror that transforms into explosive relief. Lily, Tom, the parents. They sweep their children up, a chaotic, tearful reunion of murmured thank yous to God and frantic checking for injuries. Caldwell is hauled to his feet and put in the back of a squad car, his face hidden in shame. The children's father, his eyes red and swollen, approaches Bear. He is a normal man, a man in a polo shirt and khaki shorts, a man who probably would have crossed the street to avoid these bikers an hour ago. Now, he stands before their leader, his face working, unable to find the right words. He stammers, looking at the leather and the patches and the hard faces. "How can we ever thank you?" He fumbles for his wallet. "Please, let me give you something." Bear raises a hand, gently stopping him. "Not necessary," he says. "Your kids are safe. That's the payment." He turns to the little girl, who is now holding her mother's hand, her tear-streaked face looking up at him with awe. "You did the real work, Lily," Bear says to her. "You were brave enough to ask for help. Don't ever forget that." She gives him a small, watery smile. With a final nod to Detective Miller, the sons of Odin walk back to their motorcycles. They swing their legs over the seats, the leather creaking. One by one, the engines roar to life, a thunderous chorus that rips through the restored peace of the park. And then they are gone, leaving behind a shattered predator, a reunited family, and a group of onlookers whose perceptions of the world have been irrevocably altered. The asphalt unspools before them, a gray ribbon into the setting sun. The wind is a familiar roar, washing away the ugliness of the afternoon. They ride in their usual formation, a tight, disciplined unit. Nothing is said. Nothing needs to be. The code was tested, and the code held. Months pass. Seasons turn. The memory of the sunny park and the terrified little girl fades, replaced by new roads, new towns, new sunrises. It is Christmas Eve. The sons of Odin are at their clubhouse, a nondescript building on the industrial edge of a city hundreds of miles away. Snow falls softly outside. Inside, it is warm, filled with the smell of roasting turkey and pine. A package is delivered. A simple cardboard box with a child's clumsy handwriting on the address label. Reaper slices it open with his pocket knife. Inside, nestled in tissue paper, is a framed drawing. It depicts 4 giant, muscular figures with beards and black vests standing beside their motorcycles. They have crudely drawn, smiley faces. In the center, holding their hands, are a small boy and a smaller girl. Above them, the sun shines in a bright blue sky, and a rainbow stretches over the whole scene. There's a card, too. On the front is a photograph. Lily and Tom, sitting in front of a Christmas tree. They are smiling, their eyes bright and clear, free from the shadows of the past. They look healthy, happy, safe. Bear opens the card. The message inside is written in the same childish script as the address. Dear Giant Angels, it reads, "Thank you for saving us. Mom and Dad said you were our guardian angels. I hope you have a good Christmas. Tom got a new inhaler. He says thank you for finding his old one. Love, Lily and Tom." Bear holds the card for a long time, reading the simple words over and over. He carefully props the framed drawing up on the mantelpiece, among the club's trophies and plaques. It looks out of place, and yet perfectly right. He walks to the window, looking out at the falling snow, the card still in his hand. The world sees them as outlaws, as rejects, as a threat. But a little girl in a park saw them for what they truly were. Protectors. He looks at the photo one last time, at the 2 bright, happy faces. This is why they ride. This is the code. This is the payment. He nods to himself, a slow, certain movement. Then he turns from the window, back to his brothers, his family. The road is always waiting, and somewhere out there, someone else might need them.